Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Sir Gabs again. In this video, we will be talking about the limit of exponential functions. So exponential functions guys, no, katuning functions nga ang base niya is a constant. Okay? So for this one, you will need prior knowledge to laws of exponents. So sana kabuka tong i-recall siguro, no? Unless there's a need later. So recall, katong law of exponent nga, if m is raised to a negative power, so example, you have m as the base and we have an exponent here, negative m, ang iyang equivalent guys is the reciprocal of the base raised to the positive exponent. Okay? So ang buhaton nimo is reciprocal nimo ang base 1 over m, from m 1 over m na lang siya. Unya, ang iyang exponent from negative n, syempre na mo siyang positive. So that's how we do it. Unya, for the examples, no? Let's have examples here. Syempre, natin conditions to consider. Our base anyway should not be negative, no? That's for exponential functions. Otherwise, medyo magka-problema ta. Kaya kung negative ang imuhang base, then ang imuhang values will be positive, negative, positive, negative. Like example, if imuhang base is negative 2, when it is raised to a power of x, then the value will be like positive ang value mo, negative, positive mo, negative. Okay, so again, remember, when we are talking about exponential functions, we are limited to values greater than 0, ang b na to. Sa 1 side, ang 1 na to is actually more or less useless because if 1 is raised to any power, then the result is just equal to 1. Okay? So recall that if again, laws of exponent, if m is raised to negative n, then that's equal to 1 over m raised to n. Next to that, let's have examples na. Number 1, using these conditions, if you are to solve for the limit of, let's say, 3 raised to x, as x approaches infinity, or positive infinity, then ang imong buhaton, guys, this is, of course, this one is an exponential function. Imong buhaton is tanawa lang ang base. The base is 3, subot pa sabot greater than 1 siya. Kato kay greater than 0 but less than 1 man to siya applicable, no? So we have greater than 1 here. Atong tanawon is kaning niya kay positive infinity man ato ang x approaching. Unless negative siya approaching. Kaya syempre we look for letter B. But since this is positive kaning mo tanawon niya, ang format, it's always the positive infinity. So the result here is positive infinity. So again, regardless kung unsa ang base, basta greater than 1 siya. So bisan pag 1.1 lang siya, 1.1 is a decimal number, it's greater than 1 already. So when it is raised to the power of x, as x approaches positive infinity, the result will always be like this. In other words, that's positive infinity. But of course, not forget that infinity is not a real number. In short, we conclude that the limit does not exist. Okay? So the second example, yung number 2, if we have the limit of, let's say, 1 over 5 raised to the power of x, as x approaches positive infinity, then that should be, kung tanawan mo si 1 over 5, 1 over 5 is 0.2 in decimal form. Now, 0.2 is greater than 0 but less than 1. Okay, so mas gamay siya sa 1. Tunga siya kibali sa 0 and 1. So, dili siya greater na, so kato yung tanawan, which means kani imuhang basihan. So, from here, the format is b raised to x, kani, as x approaches positive infinity. According to that situation in there, or according to that guideline, or those guidelines, pag imunani daw ang format, 0 always ang result. Okay? So, syempre, 0 is already a real number. So, it exists na. Okay? So, that's example number 2. But actually, guys, dili man necessary nga you always remember this. Pero, somehow, you will need this in some concepts. Pero, if you are just solving limits lang, no? Kung maana na siguro ka, madugay mo na lang na siya ma-master. And then, later part, you will not need na these things here na mutanaw pa kaani or you will rely here yun sa tanang conditions na gibutang dari. Ay mo rin buhatan guys is simple algebra, analogy, logic, sabayan lang mo. So, example is this. Again guys dili na ito na gamiton. So what we do is simple algebra lang, yung pagkahuman, we do some logical thinking and analogy, no? Analogy. So we have the limit, for example, of 5 raised to x as x approaches positive infinity. So imong buhaton is just simple substitution lang. In other words, i-substitute nimo si infinity sa x. Kay x approaching infinity man, just like the usual way that we do. So this becomes 5 raised to positive infinity. Siyempre, when 5 is multiplied by itself infinitely many times. So, kibali, no? Kaya mong tanawon lang ang logic niya ba, no? Or ang analogy, ang pattern. So, if 5 is multiplied by 5, it becomes 25. If multiplied by 5 again, it becomes 125. If multiplied by 5 again, it becomes 625. Okay? So, kung tanawon lang nimo ang pattern, no, kung kadaghanon din mo multiply ang 5 by itself, then the number will be bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you continue until infinitely many times, then obviously the number will be approaching infinity. Okay? And then of course, we call it, or we consider it as DNE, or the limit does not exist. So kung kabantay ka sa itong gibuhat, we did not use any of these 4. Ang imorang gitanaw is what happens to the number as you multiply 5 by itself infinitely many times. So muna akong pasabot nga, pwede rin dili ka mo base ana. Ang imuha lang is you use your kanaang algebraic skills and also your logical thinking. Then letter D, another example. Oh, wait. Ano nasino ko? Dapat number 3 din eh. This third example is number 3. Then, example number 4. If you have, let's say, limit of, let's say, 1/4. Now, 1/4 raise the power of, let's say, 2x as x approaches negative infinity. Then, imong buhaton again, guys, is imuhara siyang sa tawagan eh. Yung oras ang substitute. So, meaning, mahimura siyang 1/4. Siyempre, kung substitute ni mo negative infinity diha, 2 times negative infinity, it becomes negative infinity. So, mahimura ni siyang 1/4 raised to the power of negative infinity. Okay? So, gikan diha, applying laws of exponent, kanina itong recall kanina, if negative ang exponent, what we do is, atong button is reciprocal. Kunya pagkahuman mahimo na yung positive ang exponent. So kung si 1/4 atong i-reciprocal, syempre mahimo siyang 4/1 or just simply 4. Okay? Yan sa to, basta inighuman nimo reciprocal, mahimo ng positive ang exponent. So mahimo na siyang 4 raised to infinity. So same thing, guys, same thing, no? Kung ang 4 i-multiply mo by itself multiple times, magbalik-balik kung multiply infinitely many times, then syempre, the same as 5, it goes to infinity hapon. Magkaanam gihapon siya kadako. And so, this is DNE hapon. Okay? Then let's have number 5. Okay. So sa number 5, the 5th example, what if we have let's say, the limit of 3/4 raised to the power of x as x approaches positive infinity. So, syempre, when you substitute, this becomes 3/4 raised to the power of positive infinity, or just simply infinity. Kunya, kung imong tanawon si 3/4, no, kung imong analyze ng 3/4, if you keep multiplying 3/4 by itself multiple times, then magkaanam siya kagamay. Example ha, si 3/4, as you know, no, kung imong tanawon si 3/4, atong ikuan ha, analogy. Si 3/4, if imong analyze on, si 3/4 is equivalent to, sorry, you should not use this space, no? Si 3/4 in terms of decimals, si 3/4 is equal to 0.75. Now, if you multiply 3/4 by itself, no? Kung himuon mo siyang 3/4 times 3/4, let's see 3/4 times 3/4, that's of course na number 16, in decimal 0.5625. So in decimal it's 0.5625. Kaya kung mo pwede siya i-multiply 3 times by itself, then times 3/4 pag yun, no? May mo siyang 27/64, or that should be 0.421875. So looking at 75, 56, 0.42, so the number, as you can see, no, nagkaanam siyang kagamay. So if you continue doing this, ngayon mo siyang i-multiply by itself infinitely many times. Remember, this infinity. Okay? So may tabo, syempre, this number will be approaching 0. Okay? So in short, our limit here is just equal to 0. So morning ingon siya, no? Morning ingon siya sa kaning 3/4, mao man siyang condition dere, greater than 0 but less than 1. So kanang 3/4 is greater than 0 but less than 1. Ingon siya, if it is raised to x, as x approaches infinity, it's always equal to 0. So mao ni siya nga concept. Pero kanila atong gibuhat is we do not apply these things here. Pero again guys it's up to you. Kung ganahan mo nga mutimaan ani, then no worries. Pero if ganahan mo nga wala mo timan ani ingon ani, you'll just do analogy, then you can do this. Okay, manual computation lang. Timanan lang ninyo ana guys, no, nga if greater than 1 multiplied by itself, if greater than 1 lang mas dako sa 1, kung i-multiply siya balik-balik sa iyang kagalingon, then magkaana mo kadako ang number. Whereas kung ang less than 1, greater than 0 positive na less than 1, kung mo siya i-multiply by itself multiple times, balik-balik ko mo siya i-multiply, ang number niya is magkaana mo kagamay. So like example, if sa tawag gani, if ang 0.2 imo siyang i-multiply by itself, 0.2 times 0.2, it becomes 0.4. Tama ba? 0.2 times 0.2, 0.04 rather, no? Okay, di ba? Kung mag-multiply tag fraction, mag-multiply tag decimal numbers, we multiply 0.2 and 0.2 and then we count the number of decimals. So 0.2 times 0.2 is 0.4. So, I mean 0.04. 0.2 and 0.04. 0.04 is smaller. So, actually guys, mo na kung ingon. Basta less than 1, positive, kung i-multiply mo siya balik-balik sa pagalingon, it becomes lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser until it becomes 0. But if the number is greater than 0, then syempre, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So, same applies, no, katong example number 6. If we have this constant e, example, if you are to evaluate the limit of e, no, e raised to the power of, let's say, negative x, as x approaches infinity. Okay? So may tabuan na, that becomes e raised to the power of negative infinity. Okay? And guys, remember again, when we do this, we have a negative exponent, ato na sad na siyang i-reciprocal. So reciprocal na ito na siya, 1 over e raised to the power of infinity. Wala. Positive na siya, no? Kunya, ang uban, you might not know sa ng e, but e is a constant equivalent to approximately 2.718. Actually, ito na ako nakuha. Just to make sure, where is letter e? Or the Euler's constant? Yeah, that's approximately 2.718. So, e anyway, you have to know this, e is a constant, approximately 2.718. Approximately lang na pa na yung mga sumpay. Mura siyang pi, nga 3.14 approximately. So, in this case, guys, kung imo na siyang tanawon, 1 over 2.718. So, ang logic is, ay kanina siya, no? Si letter E, greater than 1 is iya. No? Greater than 1. So, kung ako siyang reciprocal, ay mahimo siyang less than 1. Di ba? Mao man na ang logic, no? Ang greater than 1, kung imo siyang reciprocal, mahimo na siyang less than 1. Example, ang 5, reciprocal, di ba mahimong 1 over 5. So, mahimo siyang less than 1. So, it means here, this becomes a proper fraction, kibali, no? 1 over 2.718, not really a proper fraction because this one is irrational. Well, again, logic lang is, this number now is less than 1. Unya, when multiplied by itself, infinitely many times, then syempre, the number will be approaching 0. Okay? So, I think that's enough for this topic. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.